What if I told you the magical creature in The Legend of Ochi wasn't CGI, but a real puppet operated by multiple people? That's right. This incredible creation relied on practical effects and puppetry to bring it to life, defying the digital norm. Director Isaiah Saxon even brought in a primate expert to ensure the Ochi's movements felt authentic. Welcome to Movies Unbound. Today we're uncovering how this film built an immersive world on a tiny budget, shot on location in Transylvania with a stellar cast and groundbreaking puppetry. Ready to step behind the curtain? Let's get started. How to build a fantasy world on a $10 million budget. $10 million might sound like a lot, but in the world of fantasy filmmaking, it's a tight budget. For context, major Hollywood movies like those from Marvel often exceed $200 million. So how did Isaiah Saxon create a visually stunning world for The Legend of Ochi with just a fraction of that? The answer lies in creativity and an old-school approach. The first major challenge was building a fantasy world that felt rich and immersive without relying on tons of expensive CGI. Saxon found a solution in using 1930s-era Baltar lenses. These vintage lenses gave the film a soft, dreamy look, almost painterly in style. This wasn't something you could achieve with modern digital tools. It required a hands-on approach. But those lenses were just the start. Saxon also painted an astonishing 200 matte backdrops himself by hand. These matte paintings became the landscapes of the film, from misty cliffs to glowing forests. This wasn't just a cost-saving measure. Saxon had been experimenting with creating matte paintings since he was 13. His years of practice paid off, helping him craft a world that felt magical and grounded at the same time. He didn't work alone, though. Illustrator Marie Nelson was another key player in shaping the film's unique visuals. She worked closely with Saxon to sketch and paint the film's world, ensuring every detail felt alive. What made this collaboration special was how much it relied on physical craft rather than digital shortcuts. Together, they created storyboards and designs that could translate directly to what was filmed. This process took time but added layers of depth to the world. Saxon believed the best way to make the budget work was to care deeply for the material and focus on the little details. Saxon's background in music videos also played a huge role. These projects had small budgets too, so he had to figure out how to stretch every dollar. His experience shaped how he saw filmmaking, not as a process of buying solutions, but as one of making things with passion and skill. For example, Saxon didn't just design the matte paintings, he also worked with VFX artists and 100 craftspeople to carefully weave the paintings into the movie's broader effects, finding the perfect cast from Oscar nominees to rising stars. Casting for The Legend of Ochi wasn't just about finding talented actors. It was about choosing people who could bring deep, emotional life to the story, even without saying much. Director Isaiah Saxon focused on raw, expressive performances that would give the fantasy world its human heart, and this meant making risky decisions with the casting process. In a bold move, Saxon chose some of the film's key actors without holding traditional auditions. One of those risks was Helena Zengel, who plays Yuri, the film's lead. Saxon had seen her in the critically acclaimed German film System Crasher and immediately knew she was the right choice. What stood out about Zengel was her ability to communicate powerful emotions without saying a word. This was essential for Yuri, a character defined more by her reactions and body language than by dialogue. Much of her role revolves around interacting with the Ochi puppet, and somehow, Zengel made those scenes feel completely real. For the character of Maxim, Yuri's father, Saxon brought in Willem Dafoe, who surprised everyone with his take on the role. Originally, Maxim was written to be strict and somewhat distant, inspired by the no-nonsense soccer coaches Saxon had met growing up. But Dafoe added layers that weren't in the script, balancing Maxim's authority with a hidden tenderness. Saxon called Dafoe the film's best special effects creature because of his incredible ability to switch between intimidating and vulnerable with ease. His version of Maxim gave the story new emotional weight, especially in his moments with Zengel's Yuri. Then there was Emily Watson, cast as Dasha, a wise and warm presence in Yuri's life. Watson didn't just deliver a great performance. She also played a huge role in keeping morale high during the demanding mountain shoots. Saxon often described her as the mothering force on set. She offered support for the younger cast, helping them feel at ease even in the hardest conditions. Off camera, she was outgoing and full of energy, but the moment the cameras rolled, she effortlessly became her character. Finn Wolfhard rounded out the cast as Petro, Yuri's adopted brother. He brought a natural understanding of fantasy worlds thanks to his experience on Stranger Things. Saxon believed Wolfhard's knack for blending adventure and emotion made the Ochi creatures feel even more alive on screen. Petro's desire for Maxim's approval and his inner struggles mirrored Wolfhard's own ability to navigate emotionally charged stories, transforming the Carpathian Mountains into a mythical landscape. Did you know that the stunning forests and wide-open landscapes in The Legend of Ochi aren't CGI? They were shot in the Apuseni Mountains, part of Romania's Carpathian Range, in an area so remote it barely feels touched by time. This region is known for its ancient forests and wildlife like bears and wolves. Director Isaiah Saxon chose it because he wanted a location where modern life felt far away. These mountains gave the film the natural, pure DNA it needed to ground the fantasy elements in a real, untouched world. Filming there, though, was no easy task. The Apuseni Range is beautiful but very rugged. Rain would turn the ground into thick mud, making it nearly impossible to move heavy gear. The weather could shift from warm to freezing in just hours, catching the crew off guard. Reaching some locations required hauling equipment through narrow trails that vehicles couldn't access. Instead, teams relied on lightweight cameras and simpler rigs, sometimes working from dawn to dusk just to finish one perfect shot. Adding to the challenge, they had to learn from local villagers how to navigate tricky terrain and the unpredictable climate. Saxon believed the natural environment needed to feel like another character in the film. He said that leaving modern cities behind brought them into a world where people live in complete harmony with the land. That's why the Apuseni Mountains were perfect. They not only look otherworldly, but they also feel alive. The primeval forests there are some of Europe's last, with trees so dense they seem untouched for hundreds of years. This connection to the natural world influenced how the magical parts of The Legend of Ochi came to life. The result was a setting that blended fantasy and reality so seamlessly, it became hard to tell where one ended and the other began. The location also shaped more than just the film's visuals. It changed the tone of the story itself. The isolation of the mountains mirrors the emotional journey of the film's lead character, Yuri. The vast, untamed wilderness became a perfect backdrop for a tale about finding connection in a lonely, unfamiliar place, breathing life into the Ochi, puppets, animatronics, and throat whistling. Think those adorable Ochi creatures are just CGI? They're not. The team behind The Legend of Ochi used puppets, animatronics, and even throat whistling to make them feel alive. Creating these creatures, especially on a smaller budget, required a blend of artistry, technical skill, and problem-solving to achieve their lifelike presence without relying heavily on computers. The baby Ochi, central to the story, began as a concept but quickly became one of the film's most intricate creations. Operated by multiple puppeteers, each controlling a specific part, like its head, limbs, or blinking eyes, it demanded perfect synchronization. Hours of practice were needed to ensure every movement felt seamless. During one rehearsal, the team finally nailed a moment where the baby Ochi's subtle head tilt and blinking eyes conveyed a sense of curiosity. That was the instant they realized the puppet could truly feel alive on screen. Packed with fine details, it was designed to express emotions so nuanced that viewers would forget it wasn't real. For the adult Ochi, the filmmakers faced a new challenge: scale. Simple puppets couldn't work for creatures of that size. Instead, actors wore specialized suits with animatronic heads controlled remotely by a separate team. Each operator focused on a specific feature, like the mouth or eyes, allowing the creatures to display a full range of emotions. To ensure their movements felt natural, Saxon enlisted Peter Elliott, a primate movement expert whose insights helped avoid the uncanny valley effect. Even the Ochi's voices had a unique origin. Saxon discovered throat whistling online and found its strange, beautiful sound perfect for the creatures. Paul Manolatos, a skilled throat whistler, brought this to life, blending the sound with their movements to create beings that felt both otherworldly and familiar. The Legend of Ochi shows how creativity can achieve what big budgets often can't. By focusing on handmade techniques, Isaiah Saxon crafted a world that feels real and alive, where every painted backdrop and puppet carries a sense of magic. This isn't just a film, it's a reminder that passion, not money, creates wonder. The story's bond between Yuri and the Ochi speaks through emotions, not words. This nonverbal connection pulls you deeper into their world. So next time you see fantasy on screen, think about the care behind it. Don't miss The Legend of Ochi in theaters, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Movies Unbound for more behind-the-scenes insights and previews. See you next time.